So I'm a writer in Los Angeles, and but I have always been a climate activist. And for a while I was helping plan protests and giving climate talks around LA and along the river here. And I teach climate writing. Um, but what I have been realizing in the last few years is how important climate writing is. And that is where my activism has taken me. Uh, and where I really started writing about the climate crisis was up in the Arctic. So DB is showing some of my favorite photos from that writing fellowship that I did up there. I had the privilege of hanging out with 30 other artists and crew members up against the glaciers, and everyone was doing their own projects. This is a picture of Nemo, the dog, who was with us. And it's when I got reignited and, you know, where I saw my first glacier calving, which is, when huge chunks break off from these glaciers and these cliffs of ice strike the water and the boat is, rocking from this impact. And you can't forget a thing like that, right? So that was really my symbol of change in my life. And that was the moment when I first really perceived that everything was changing and it wasn't some faraway problem. And so and all my writing became about climate change and all my fiction and nonfiction. And so I took, what I felt in the Arctic back home with me to Los Angeles. So here I've been working on a resource that will go into TV writing rooms to help filmmakers and TV writers integrate climate into any and every story. So that's sort of where this class idea came from, that we need stories. We need climate stories, and there just are so few of them right now. The good news is about climate change is that we have the science and technology and even the policy solutions like ready to go if people could get behind it, right? What we don't have are the stories that will really fuel people and get them talking about it and get them calling their politicians and get them caring. Stories make people care. So I really believe that there's just no winning the climate fight without stories. And the other piece of this is that we'll get into a little bit more in the class itself is that the fossil fuel industry has had the reins of the climate stories out there for too long, and they want people to be afraid, they want people to not act, and they want people to be hopeless. They want people to not care enough. They want to just they want us to turn off. So that's where you come in, and that's why we need your stories. We need stories that help people feel like they're not alone in this, that help people find purpose and joy, even in the midst of the craziness, that help us see a path forward, that wrestle with environmental injustice, and that stories that show our anger or our sadness or whatever emotions you feel around this. We need stories that give us courage, right? When people, stories help people process emotions. And when people are able to process their emotions, they're able to act. And so this has everything to do with climate change. And so it's also exciting because there aren't that many climate stories. We get to decide what that looks like. This is new territory. So you as writers get to figure out what that even means. So in this class, we're going to, in the first half, in the February part of the class online, we're going to write fictional short films. And we're going to start from character and really explore the different aspects of climate change, big or small, and how those might affect a character that you're interested in writing about. And so we'll get kind of personal, we'll explore our own climate emotions and our experiences, and because that's how you'll really reach an audience and the more specific your stories get, the more relatable they are, and they'll have an impact. So we'll be talking, about the hard stuff like climate change a little bit, but the idea is that this is fun and that, we get to explore and express ourselves while doing this, while exploring this important topic. And we'll also watch a few short films together and talk about how they work, or maybe why they didn't work for you. And we'll figure out what to learn from them and apply to our own scripts. So each of you would come away from the first half of this, the February portion, with with a rough draft of a short film script, like 5 pages. And then in March, we will shoot one of those scripts together, and that's where Lisa comes in. I think that covers
Great.
portion. Yeah.
Fantastic. So this is Lisa Marr, who's with Echo Park Film, they're located in Vancouver as part of Moberly Arts Center, but it's adjoining it, so it's actually a field house.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited that you are here. This is going to be an amazing workshop and project. And I'm originally from Vancouver. I ended up in Los Angeles. I lived in Los Angeles for 25 years. And then recently I've moved back to Vancouver and got involved with the Field House program. So, much like the community centers, the field houses are places where people of all ages can go after school, weekends, and just make art. And I've been doing youth media for 20 years. I started out actually as a writer, and I did short fiction. I studied writing at UBC, and then I got into music, and I was in an all-girl punk rock band called Cub way back in the 90s, and I just basically got to tour around with my friends, and we made music, and I wanted to start making my own music videos, and that's how I got into filmmaking. So to me, filmmaking is a tool where you can express your ideas, you can explore activism, you really can tell your story and have a huge audience for it. So I love the fact that this workshop is going to be writing and filmmaking together, because that kind of gives you a holistic picture of the whole journey of taking something from an idea to the screen and then out into the world. And right now, as Carmiel was saying, it's the time. We need to tell these stories. They're important stories. They're personal stories, and they're also universal global stories. So I'm excited, and I hope that you are excited too. The filmmaking component, after the scripts are written, then we're going to all work together to film the stories that you have created. So that'll entail getting to know about cameras and lighting and how we work together. We're going to have sort of a 2-day intensive film production weekend in April, but before then we'll lead up to it. We'll kind of ease into it. So hopefully you can all come over to the Field House at Moberly Park, and we're going to kind of go back to the history, right to the beginning of filmmaking. We'll do some animation stuff. We'll do some actual handmade film, old school analog film, and we're going to use local flowers to process that. My environmental activism entails communities getting involved in the places where they live and work, and using organic materials instead of toxic chemistries to make films and art. And then we're going to go into the digital realm. So this will actually be a digital film project, but we'll be exploring all kinds of filmmaking, and it's going to be really fun. And if you have other friends that want to join in, there is plenty of room for that. So yeah, that's kind of the filmmaking component. We can take a look at, in case you haven't been to Moberly Fieldhouse before, we are the Echo Park Film Center, and we are the artists in residence for the next 3 years. We've already been there 3 years. We just got renewed, so we're doing another 3 years there. And everything we do is free and all ages and accessible. But if you haven't been there, I have a little, like a 15-second movie that maybe didn't bring up. Yeah, just so you can get an idea of what's going on there. And it's a lot, so check it out.
We like making art and spreading it around. We like making movies, genre kinda underground.
We're not in it for the money, we're not doing it for fame.
So that was like, a year's worth of events in 15 seconds. But you can see we like to hang out outside and make a lot of art and have fun doing it. So that's always kind of the bottom line for me. We want to get our ideas and our activism out there, but we also want to have fun while we're doing it and explore and just work together and go on the journey together.
So does everyone have a piece of paper, or, well, you're on your computers, you can write on your computers too. But writing by hand is always fun. It always, puts you in your body while you're writing, right? Instead of staring at the screen. So this is just, there's no right or wrong way to do this. I would love for you to imagine 50 years in the future what Vancouver might look like if we actually achieve all of our climate goals. What would your neighborhood or street look like? Would there be more wild green spaces? Would there be more bikes and less cars? High-speed trains? What cool innovations would there be? What would your community center look like? How would that be different? Would it be all solar powered, or would there be some other cool renewable energy thing going on? So imagine if you can time travel there, what would you do if you got to spend a day in that greener city? So let's just free write about it for 5 or so minutes. Lisa, do you feel like sharing? No pressure.
Well, I wasn't really writing sentences, but I was just kind of jotting down some ideas. And it's hard to sort of think about like what is the world's going to look like in 50 years. But I love the optimism of like, okay, if everything we're dreaming of now comes true, what does it look like? So for me, I kind of think small scale. I'm really thinking about the things that I feel can make a more sustainable world. And for me, that includes like, growing food. I noticed even in the last couple of years during the pandemic, a lot more people are growing food in their yards and flowers for pollinators, bees and birds. And I sort of see this big like garden, like I see the earth returning to kind of a garden state. So maybe like lots of things growing. And then I think about sounds. And when I think about sounds, I think about the lack of sounds, like the lack of car sounds and industrial sounds and maybe more natural sounds like birds and things like that. And then the sky, I think about blue skies, unclouded by pollution. We have a lot of cloudy days in Vancouver, of course, but we also have some beautiful blue sky days. And I would like there to be more pollution-free days. So that's kind of my little utopia that I was dreaming of.
I love that. I was also thinking small scale. Like I had myself stumbling on a like little community party in the park where it's just normal to bring your own plate and forks and that. I mean, I was going real small, but like, that's pretty abnormal. Sometimes people bring their to-go mugs to a coffee shop now, but in the future, that's just going to be the norm. It's not going to be a weird thing to do. Those kinds of things. I was thinking of how our tiny behaviors might change in a way that just becomes the normal habit.
The way this workshop is going to flow is, the stuff that you are interested in. That's what you're going to be bringing, and that's what we're going to be all responding to. And it's really important for me as a, kind of a youth media instructor, facilitator, that these are your films. It's not about us making films with you or for you. It's about, your vision coming through. So we'll be, with you every step of the way. And, it's going to be an exciting ride to see those ideas come to fruition. And, maybe you already have some experience with, editing, digital editing and some camera stuff, which is great because we may have some other people who are joining us who don't have that background. And so, we're all going to learn from each other. We're all going to teach. We're all going to exchange ideas and skills. So the fact that you already have a little bit of experience is really great. It's a great, starting point, and we'll just kind of keep developing it and learning more and more as we go along.